What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 33 of the Sovereign Life podcast, guys. Today, we are going to talk about the single greatest ROI I have ever had throughout my entire career. Um, Guys, and I've done a lot. Like, that's what people don't understand is like, I'm young, I'm 27, but like, since 18, bro, I've been hustling. That's what people don't really see. But like, honestly, guys, I started working when I was 15 years old, before I could even drive. Like my mom literally had to drive me to my job or I had to walk from school. Um, I was a lifeguard and like did all this stuff. Anyways, then I went to college, did that for 4 years, got out of college, started my first business, which was, I started as a personal trainer. So I guess it wasn't my first business yet, but at the same time, I started a clothing company called Sovereign Lifestyle. So originally, Sovereign Lifestyle was meant to be a clothing company. And then from there, worked at a whole bunch of different places. I worked at like EOS, UVU as a trainer. We launched a fitness app called Trainee. And then I went solo and basically helped start. Well, I teamed up with my coach at the time and helped start Transform Fitness, which is a private gym. Um, a few years later, they made it to uh, the top rated personal training gym in Utah, which was crazy. And then from there, I decided to come back to Sovereign Lifestyle, focus on that 100%, go all online. And then my goal was to basically build out the most in depth online nutrition coaching program the world has ever seen. But during that time, there have been a lot of, there's, I like to balance a lot of things at once, which it's not necessarily always a good thing. But my point being that like during that, I won my pro card in 2021, made it all the way to Natural Olympia, placed ninth in the world, competed multiple times, like probably 15, 16 times in those years between like 20 and now, so 27. Um, and then on top of that, like I would always have either I normally worked like a 9 to 5, or would have like some type of side hustle, whether that be like day trading, crypto, investing in the S&P 500, real estate, like whatever it was with stocks and real estate. So, guys, at this point in my life, I've tried a lot of different things. And more than anything today, I just wanted to get to, sorry. But more than anything, guys, today I wanted to take some time to compare the investment versus the returns, guys. And the thing that I've realized over the longest period of, or over that period of time is like by far the number one thing that I've invested in is it's been myself, right? Like, and that's what guys don't understand, especially nowadays. And this is why guys are failing so much, is because they put everything above themselves, right? Like, we typically think of like stability as having a stable job, putting a fixed amount of money into the S&P 500, having real, like buying a house, all the stuff that kind of comes with like stability. But the reality, guys, is, and it's funny because like a lot of the time we get so lost that like that becomes like the thing we grasp onto, and every time it's just insecurity. But every time like anything happens, it's like, well, I got to just invest more, I got to just do whatever, and or buy real estate or whatever. And you do that at the expense of all the other things, right? And that's what people don't understand is like, if you're not making above, say, like 60, 70,000 dollars a year, it makes almost no sense, in my opinion, to spend money on things like real estate and stocks, right? Like almost no sense, because the thing is with real estate, on average, is about a 15% year over year return, unless you do it really risky. In that case, you'll probably lose money rather than gain, which, it happens. Stocks are about 10 to 11% year over year return, and same thing. Like you could do it a little bit riskier, but the odds are against you, and just know that. Um, but it's interesting because it's like so many guys just struggle with self-worth, right? And the thing is that I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna reiterate that. But so many guys struggle with self-worth because we tie our worth to money, right? We tie our worth to our net worth. And that's the only, like, often that's the only factor that guys look at. The problem with that is that there is so much more that gives you value as a person, right? Like if you truly look at your life over what you've done over the last, since you turned 16, 18 years old, there's so much more than just money, right? And it goes for every young guy, like because most guys, like, you go into college or you start a business or whatever, and a lot of the time you're very negative. If you can come out by 30 and be back to zero, most of the time you're doing really good. And that's what people don't understand is like we think that we have to just save and save and save, but the reality is like, you're investing so much that a lot of the time you're negative. So it takes a toll on men in particular, just because we have no, a lot of the time, young men in particular, a lot of the time are in debt or have no net worth. So of course you feel like crap. You don't, so, um, the thing that I've noticed though, and to apply this to my life, is like I have gone about life a lot with that mindset of like, what is the return on investment, dollar over dollar, and it's really hard. For one, it's almost impossible to measure the return on investment when investing in yourself because you're placing a bet ultimately, right? Like you're paying money to develop a skill set that you can leverage to make more money, right? And the hard part about that is depending on how quickly you learn and apply, the that's like that's how much money you make, right? So that's where entrepreneurs get really good at this, whereas like, most people who work 9 to 5s and stuff don't, because you have to learn to invest, learn, apply, and then you make your money back, you know? But a lot of the time people just can't do that, you know? But versus like if you were to take that same amount of money and put it into real estate or that S&P 500 or whatever, typically that's a 10% year over year return, right? So like a lot of the time it just doesn't make sense, because you're playing with such small amounts of money at this period in your life. And yes, like there's the compound effect and like that type of stuff. But the reality of it is like there's not really, like, the way that I look at real estate and stocks now is more of ways to preserve wealth, right? They're not ways to gain wealth, especially nowadays, just because it's like you have to invest so much into yourself. So if you're not investing in yourself and you're not investing in making, like, acquiring the skill sets that you can leverage to become more valuable, then you're basically cutting off the flow of wealth coming to you, if that makes sense. So, but most people just don't understand this. This is totally beyond like the majority of people. And the reason for that is because the learn and apply effect, right? Most people are conditioned to learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, and they never learn to apply, right? And that's what school teaches us. The problem with that is if you're investing in yourself and you consistently just learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and never apply, then you're not going to see a return on your investment, and you're basically throwing that money out the window. But to apply this to my own life, like I was the type of guy for years, like, I don't know, I grew up in a very conservative home. My dad was a dentist, made good money. But I was kind of just raised with like, oh, we don't do we don't get nice things. That's who we are. Like we don't buy designer. We don't like have the newest iPhone. Like we don't go out and spend money because that's just stupid. Stupid people spend money, right? And in my head, that's like what I equated. Like if I am spending money, I am stupid and and I'm irresponsible, right? And I think that's a lot of guys have this, where it feels irresponsible to let go of money. The problem with that was as time went on and I grew more and more insecure, right? Like, or there was things that were being piled onto my plate, right? Like, it's time to get married and have a mortgage and buy a car and like all that stuff. And then you have a wife to buy a car for and that type of stuff. It got more like increase more and more hard for me to overcome that limiting belief, right? Like I would be like, oh, well, now we have a car payment. So like we can't afford to eat out, or we can't afford to have that gym membership, or we can't afford to like go on a vacation or whatever the thing was. And so I was constantly cutting things out from my life to be able to like save enough money to one, pay bills, but two, invest in the S&P 500 or whatever, right? Stocks, real estate. The problem with that was I stopped creating experiences for the people around me. Like I stopped giving. I was only expecting to take, right? So I wouldn't, like, there were even Christmases where I didn't buy anybody anything. There were like, which is a really shitty thing to do looking back. There were like vacations I missed, or like, date nights I didn't go out on, or you know what I mean? Like times that I should have went out of my way to create experiences and give to the people around me that I just took because I felt so scared to let go of a little bit of money that I suffocated all the relationships around me. And that leaves you like broke and alone. Like, and most guys never get to this point, right? Most guys, like, people just stay for whatever reason, and that's fine. And their wives deal with it and stuff. But like, for me, what that meant was losing wives and losing stepchildren and like all the stuff, like not having good relationships and not having friends and ending up completely alone because I was this guy who was just a taker. And so, with that being said, you have to take a step back and realize, like, what are the true return on investments in your life? Like, what are actually adding value to your life? What are the things that are actually adding value? And when you look at it like that, the house doesn't add value. Like, are you going to be homeless? Probably not. That's just how it is. As long as you have a mom and a dad, you're probably going to be fine. And I'm not saying go throw away the house, but you get what I mean. The cars, are they adding value? No, not really. Like, that's just what it is. Cars don't add value to your life. Material things, like whatever, like those things just don't add value. So with that being said, what are the things that do? Well, one, your skills, right? Your ability to create value and leverage that to make money. But two, relationships, right? Like your relationships are literally everything. And that's what carries you through the hard times of entrepreneurship, the hard times of like whatever it is, school, business, like whatever, like if you're having a hard time financially, like as long as you're investing time, money, and well, time, energy, and sometimes money into relationships to keep them alive and keep them afloat, then things are going to work themselves out. Not to mention, if you have a spouse, right? The return on investment of just making sure that that relationship is okay is like dollar for dollar is infinitely better than anything you will put your money into. And I've been through divorce, guys, so I've seen this where like and I'm telling you guys, it is the worst financial decision you will ever make to get a divorce, because now not only are like both parties not able to work, but you're fighting over stuff, and it's just like, one, it's like emotionally draining. Two, like you end up way more broke and with way more wasted money than you ever would have thought. Like it's just not a good like it's just not good. The whole situation's not good. So excuse me. But my point being that like truly the things that matter the most are your relationships, and yourself, because if you can invest in those And like, yeah, the other things may suffer a little bit, but those are the source of where the money comes from. Like those are the source of where like the actual stability comes from that most people just miss and they breeze over because we take things for granted. If you're on your first marriage or whatever, like, you know, probably think about that. Maybe use this as a warning because trust me, like they don't have to be there for you. They don't. Just how it is. Um, One of the things that I learned was to ruthlessly invest into myself and in my relationships, which we kind of just covered, but I want to add the ruthlessly part because it feels irresponsible. It feels scary to let go of money, all the stuff. But the reality, guys, is when you are ruthlessly investing in something, that means you are bumping it to the highest priority. Like it is the number one thing on your priority list. And so for me, that's one, myself, and two, my marriage. Those are the two top priority. Like I don't give a shit if I have to sell my house, my car, like anything. Those are the two top things in my priority list. So, um, so guys, I think that's the biggest thing that you have to realize is like truly the highest return on investment you will ever see is when you're investing in yourself, not real estate, not the S&P 500, not land, like whatever, you know. It is developing a skill so that you can leverage that to make more money and then reinvest, right? And that's what it's all about. But guys, if you like this content, all I ask is that you like, comment, and share it with a friend. Follow me on all social media platforms at DLowFlex, and then support me in my journey as I grow as a bodybuilder, entrepreneur, and business owner. And more than anything, my goal with this is to document the process as we go from where I am now to, the next couple of years. So go ahead and hit that like button. Never missed a podcast, and we will see you guys on the next one. Make sure to invest in yourselves, guys. You are worth it.